So half the money I spend on advertising is wasted. The trouble is I don't know which half. And I have to admit, it's not a great opening line for a marketing director. Let's hope I still have a job tomorrow. The original saying, though, is attributed to John Wanamaker, a US retailer who lived about 100 years ago. But I think it's still very much relevant, and it still captures the uncertainty that comes with measuring marketing effectiveness and knowing whether what we do in marketing really makes a difference at the end of the day, or whether there is something else that we should be doing with our budgets. And surely you would think we're in a much better place today than we were 100 years ago to know the answers to those questions, because there is so much that we measure and track. And we have these sophisticated technologies like machine learning and AI-powered systems making decisions for us. And we have attribution models and media mix models taking the guesswork out of marketing. So we should be in a pretty good place, right, with all of these marketing sophistication tools. And yet, some of our marketing budgets still get wasted, and we still sometimes struggle to explain the value of what we do to ourselves and others. Why is that the case? And I can only offer my humble perspective on the things and leave you with something to consider. First of all, marketing has become indeed very complicated and very sophisticated, and this offers a lot of opportunities, but it also brings a lot of complexity to manage. John Wanamaker had about 3 channels to worry about, right? Whereas we today have hundreds of ways in which brands and audiences communicate with each other. Second of all, the customer journey has become so complex, right? We talk about a marketing funnel and we imagine it as a nice linear journey, but really it's a very tangled and messy yarn where we don't always necessarily know what it was that made that customer make their choice. We know where and when they've booked, but that's not necessarily where they've made up their mind. And finally, the marketing ecosystem in which we operate has become very, very complex as well. Gone are the days of the madmen where you had one guy sitting, smoking, drinking, and coming up with all the brilliant ideas in his office. Nowadays, we have all these marketing platforms, agencies, specialized partners, and all of them can bring value. But for that to happen, we need to know how to manage that complexity. We need to know how to brief them. We need to know how to evaluate them. We need to understand the value that they can bring to the table. Now, in all honesty, do we as an industry always have the right number of people, the right caliber of people, and the right setup to manage that complexity? The other thing that I'd like to point out is the big strategy, right? With all of this very granular, very fragmented, algorithm-led marketing, it's very tempting to forget about the big strategy, the holistic thinking, that goes back to evaluating all of our marketing effectiveness. Whenever I see a brief or a campaign that's very generic, I know that the person working on it was struggling answering the fundamental question, which is, what is it that this campaign needs to accomplish? And yes, we need to sell room, that much is clear. But there are many ways of going about it, and exactly what change in attitude or perception do we need to accomplish in order to sell those rooms? And if we're not clear on those objectives, no amount of technology will help us. Then when we do have the objectives, we sometimes don't do the right things to accomplish those objectives. We do what's easy, not necessarily what's right. We go for a channel because we've done it before and we know how to work with it. Or because there's an owner who drives to work every morning and he thinks radio is a really good channel to work with. Or because, it's cool and trendy and there's an influencer that we really want to work with. But whether or not it really serves the objective that we've set out for ourselves is a very different question. And then finally, what we measure and report on is again often what is easy and not what is right. And we tend to report on efficiency rather than effectiveness because it's easier. We talk about ROI, we talk about ROAS, we talk about impressions and costs per this and that. And don't get me wrong, all of those are very important. But none of those necessarily tell you whether your campaign was successful, whether it accomplished what it set out to do. And in fact, focusing on efficiency makes it very tempting for marketeers to go for the lowest hanging fruit types of activities without really adding much incrementality, to be honest. Or it makes it very tempting to go for the cheapest options, again, without adding much value. So what would be my advice? Really, hire the best marketing people that you can, develop them, and let them do their jobs. And ask them some tough questions. Don't just ask them about ROI. Ask them about incrementality. Ask them about brand value. Ask them about the value that they bring to the table in the long run. And since I started with the quote, let me leave you with another one, which is incredibly relevant to the whole marketing effectiveness theme. And it comes from a very brilliant mind, I have to say. Not everything that can be counted counts, and equally, not everything that counts can be counted. Thank you very much.